Our next honoree is already in the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Hall of Fame, having been inducted some 24 years ago in 2005. One of our 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards today going to our great friend, Ross Porter. Born and raised in Oklahoma, he was on the air calling high school games and Brooklyn Dodger minor league games in his young teens. A journalism grad from OU, Ross had already been on the air for almost a decade by the time he graduated from college, and at age 24 was the youngest person to ever win the Oklahoma Sportscaster of the Year award, not just once but twice, and was at the time the youngest person to ever win such an award in any state. He came to Los Angeles in 1966, believe it or not, and while here, along with his exemplary work at Channel 4, he worked for NBC Sports National doing NFL and college basketball games, worked halftime at the Final Four, sideline at the Rose Bowl, even some hole coverage at the old Crosby Clam Bake. He even got into the act as a mentor to an up-and-coming kid you may have heard about, Bryant Gumbel. One of my very favorite Ross Porter shows was a high school game of the week on an actual broadcast, not cable TV, but actual TV that you can get with an antenna. He worked with color analysts, the likes of Sandy Koufax and Tommy Hawkins. And one afternoon at Roosevelt, he called a game that I played in between Marshall and Lincoln. Imagine LA City basketball on Channel 4 on a Saturday afternoon. Unbelievable. Why not take a chance and resurrect that programming, somebody, here in Southern California? Might I add, I hit 3 straight elbow jumpers that day, and you were very impressed, as I recall. And then my coach took me out and called me lucky. We all remember him so well for his standout 28-year career with the Dodgers, in which he set a major league record by calling all 22 innings and 6 hours and 14 minutes of a single baseball game by himself in Montreal. He also called the games for the world champion Dodgers of 1981 and 88. And Ross, I have a great story to tell you, not now, about the end of the 81 World Series on live Los Angeles radio that I got to call the 9th inning as the Dodgers won the World Series. It was so illegal, but the only guy that heard it, I think, was the guy that was running the show at KMPC, Steve Summers, so nobody else knows, but I still have the tape. A meticulous preparer for each and every game, left nothing to chance when it came to telling his stories on the air. He also called other World Series games for CBS National Radio. He was the play-by-play voice of the UNLV Running Rebels, making him the only man to call games for a World Series champ and an NCAA basketball champ with UNLV. Since his leaving the Dodgers, he's worked on Fox Sports, called games for Cal State Northridge, and become a published sports writer, hosted a charity golf tournament, and is super active on social media. We've known each other since my days at KTIP K100 in Porterville, as he and Hall of Famers Monty Moore, who owned the stations for which I worked, were great friends from their Oklahoma days, and I got to talk with Ross a lot in the 3 or 4 years that I was already in the business at that time. It's a long way from Norman, Oklahoma to Porterville, and it's a long way from Porterville to LA. I'm guessing when you take it all into consideration, perhaps his number one achievement is being married for 62 years to the love of his life, Lynn, and being close to his 2 sets of twins and probably millions of grandkids by now. Ladies and gentlemen, a life well lived from one of the most decent men you will ever meet. Please welcome to the stage the great Hall of Fame broadcaster and recipient of the 2024 Southern California Sports Broadcasters Lifetime Achievement Award, Mr. Ross Porter.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I have to tell you that it's a great honor to be here. I'm so grateful for receiving this award. I want to thank the committee that voted and made it possible for this to happen today. I want to congratulate Bill Walton, John Ireland, Steve Mason, John Jackson Jr., and Pepe Mantilla, who get awards later during the day, and to all the winners during this breakfast this morning. You're all worthy. I think it's appropriate that Pete would give me that eloquent introduction, and thank you, Pete, because after all, Pete's career took off and zoomed to great heights. when he worked at Porterville. I want to emphasize one thing this morning before we get started, and that is that as in life, there are circumstances that are really beyond our control. Hopefully most will be positive rather than negative. And I'm sure that you've come through that during your careers just as I have. When I was 8 years old, I decided I wanted to be a sports announcer. My mother wanted me to be a stockbroker, but she didn't win. And because I lived in a small town in Oklahoma, population 23,000, through circumstances, I was able to get on the air. I did my first sportscast when I was 14 years old. I did my first play-by-play when I was 14 years old. When I graduated from the University of Oklahoma, I was able to get a job at the #1 radio station and the #1 television station in Oklahoma City. WKY radio, WKY television. Radio was upstairs, television was downstairs. On radio, for 40 hours a week, I was a newscaster. And one of the poignant moments and sad moments in my life was the day that I had to do a bulletin and announce that JFK had been assassinated in Dallas. Then on TV, I got to do the 10 o'clock sports report, Monday through Friday. So once again, circumstances, positive. After 7 years on the air, one night on television, everything went wrong. I don't know whether the film broke, they ran the wrong film, they put the wrong scores up or whatever. But I was livid. I got home and I said to Lynn, you know what? These people are such amateurs, they are never going to get it right. And she made the statement that changed our whole life and my career. She said to me, if you don't like it, then find someplace else. The next morning, I was on the phone to a friend of mine that I'd worked with in Oklahoma City who had come to NBC News in Los Angeles. I called him. I said, do you think Channel 4 out there is looking for a sportsman? He said, I don't know. I'll call you back. Within hours, he called me back. He said, you're in good luck. They're looking for a sports guy for the weekend. Get me your audition tape as quickly as you can. So I put it together. I put a show together that I had done. I think I did a college football scoreboard show I had done, put it in the mail, sent it off to Burbank. Within a couple of days, I got a call from the bosses at KNBC. They said, we like your tape. We'd like you to come to Los Angeles. We'll fly you out here and talk to you. So I arrive out here. They send me over to the station right down the street here on Olive. They take me up to the executive offices. I go in. The two bosses are there, the general manager and the station manager. They said, we like your tape. We'd like to hire you to do the weekend sports for us, and here's the contract. Well, I looked at the contract, and up until then, I really hadn't thought about what kind of money I'd ask for. In Oklahoma City at that time, I was making $1,000 a month. I looked at the contract. It said, we will pay you a guaranteed $1,300 a month. Let's see, $15,600, and I was making $12,000. I looked at him and I said, can I expect to be making more money than this before long? The general manager looked me in the eye and he said, if you're not, you won't be here long. So, again, a positive circumstance. Later, Dick Enberg said to me, you know, I applied for that job that you got at Channel 4. I say to myself today, if Dick had gotten it, I'd still be in Oklahoma. Anyway, when I got back to Oklahoma City, I gave him 2 weeks' notice, and my friends said to me, hey, why are you leaving? You got it pretty good here. I said, well, yeah, I do, but I've got a chance to go to what I consider to be the sports capital of the world, Los Angeles. Look at the teams they have out there, amateur, professional. Look at the sportscasters, Scully, Hearn, Jackson, Enberg. Miller wasn't there yet. So, time goes by. A month ago, my friend Jim Alexander, the sports columnist for the Southern California News Group, wrote an article. And from the article came this headline, which I will show you now. 58 years after I told my friends. The headline, Sports Capital. And I still believe the best are right here, and you are part of that. So, I went to Burbank. My desk was next door, next to exactly one of the great athletes America's ever had, and as far as I'm concerned, one of the great human beings I've ever known, Rafer Johnson. Rafer did the 11 o'clock news. I did the weekends. Over a year and a half went by. And then one night in June of 1968, Rafer went downtown to be with his good friend, Senator Robert Kennedy, who had just won the California presidential primary that night. And as we all know, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. Rafer never returned to Channel 4. He was grief-stricken. He told me that that night, after he had been questioned thoroughly by all the authorities, he went home, undressed, and as he did, he reached in his coat pocket, and there was the gun he had helped take away from Sirhan Sirhan. Positive circumstance, yes. Sad situation to get there. So they moved me to the 11 o'clock sports in his place. I worked with Tom Brokaw. Soon thereafter, they moved me to the 6 o'clock sports. I worked with Tom Snyder. We had pretty good years there together. Again, positive circumstance. That led to network assignments for me. I did the NFL for NBC for 7 years. And as Pete said, there were other factors along the way that went in my favor. I spent 10 years at NBC. I couldn't have been happier. On a Wednesday, I went to a media conference at the stadium where they announced Walter Alston was retiring and Tommy Lasorda was going to take his place. Fred Clare, who was the vice president of the Dodgers and who was really in charge of the broadcasting department, asked me to come over and sit by him during a luncheon. I did. He said, "I'm glad to see you. I've been looking for you to ask you. You know, Vin's going to go to CBS and do a lot of network events, and as a result, he's not going to be here as much as he would be. So we have to find a third announcer. And I wondered if you could recommend to me who you might think would be good for us." I took either 1 second or 2 seconds. I don't remember which. And I said, "Yes, me." He later told Lynn, and I had him set up. He was my choice all the way. He said, "I need an audition tape. We've had 200 people apply for this job." I said, "Fred, I haven't done baseball for 20 years at OU. Got to have it." That was Wednesday. We worked it out that I sneaked in the back end of the Dodger Stadium press box on a Friday night, did an inning on my own tape, my own tape recorder, handed it to somebody to give to Fred, and I went off to the airport on a red-eye to Buffalo, where I was to do an NFL game on Sunday. Fred said to me, "When you get back Monday morning, call me." Okay, I did. He said, "We like your tape. We're down to 2 finalists. You," and he didn't tell me at the time, but I found out later, the other guy that they were talking to about it was a guy named Steve Shannon, who was here briefly and did UCLA football at one time. So they sent the tapes out to Vin at his home. A couple of hours later, Fred called me. He said, "Vin likes your tape best. He thinks you have more of a style like he and Jerry Doggett." And with that, they hired me as the new announcer for the Dodgers. Wednesday, I'm thrilled to Channel 4. Monday, I'm on the way to a new job. 28 wonderful years with the Dodgers. 22 of those under Peter O'Malley, who is the best boss anybody ever had. He never once in 22 years criticized me or told me what to do. Never was there a crossword between Ben and me, Jerry and me, or Don Drysdale and me. And I'm happy to see Annie Drysdale and Drew Ann Drysdale here today. Thank you for coming to both of you. So, things sailed along. And at the end of the 28th year, I was told, you're not coming back. Final year of your contract, we're not going to renew it. I did not retire. As Pete said, Fox, also IBN, they hired me to do high school football, high school basketball, high school baseball, and then wonderful 4 years doing the home baseball games of CSUN, which I enjoyed very much. Now, for the last 3 years, I have operated 2 sports sites. And on those, I'm able to converse with the fans. They give their opinions, I give them my opinions, I give editorials, I write commentaries, I update sports. We have film. We have people out there that I don't even know who send in videos and great things to add to our sports sites. And if you take down on a pencil or a pen today this, I'm going to tell you how to get in. Ross Porter Sports Facebook and Ross Porter Sports Videos. On the videos page, you will see 188 interviews and features that I have done over 50 years in this business. So, one last thing. If you enjoy your job, don't hesitate to tell your boss or bosses how much it means to you to be able to do what you're doing and to do it without criticism from them or anything negative. I think along the way, that's going to help you a whole lot. Thank you very much. Glad to be here today.
This is John, can we give a theater here?
Ladies and gentlemen, my wonderful friend, Hall of Famer Jaime Jarrín, right here.